sign-up sheet?
Yes.
It was this one? No, it's... Oh, it's on.
It's on.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, good evening. It's Monday, April 8th, and we will be holding the Human Affairs Committee meeting. We are going to start with a public hearing, so I'd like the clerk to call the roll.
Alderman June Karen.
Here.
Alderman Patricia Clee.
Here.
Alderwoman Marianne Melisi Goja.
Present.
And Alderman Linda Harriet Gathright, present.
Okay. Ms. Carrie Skeena is unable to join us this evening. So we are having a public hearing on R-19-126, authorizing the mayor to apply for and expend the Community Development Block Grant in Home Investment Partnership Program funds for fiscal year 2020. So we will take testimony in favor of this program. Everyone on this sign-up sheet, is that what you're here for concerning that, or are you here for the regular meeting? You're here for the public hearing. Okay. So Lou Esposito, and would you please give your name and address? Thank you.
My name is Louis Esposito. I'm from Brookline, New Hampshire, and I just want to thank you all for letting us come to speak today. And I'm here to introduce my friend Josh Nato. We are from Opportunity Networks, and we want to discuss some of the things that you guys are helping us fund.
Such a crack, aren't you?
Please state your name and address, please, for the record.
Hi, I'm Josh Nato from on Danforth Road in Nashua, and I'm here to address some things that, because we're expecting to do some remodeling at one of our offices, and we're hoping to be able to actually have enough funding for it, so to speak, in a way. And anyway, oh boy.
Deep breaths.
You're doing great.
Anyway, the first thing is the handicap back door. The back door that we currently have right now, we pretty much just open and close, but we have certain individuals, I wouldn't say clients because they're, even though that's what they're called, basically, but they're individuals. Some of them are, well, almost all of them are handicapped and have a real hard time walking. So it would be, let's see here. It would be extremely helpful to us because it helps those certain individuals who have a hard time walking, and we've been needing this kind of door for a long, long time. We just haven't been able to actually do it because of the funding and everything. So, isn't that how great money is these days? See, and then we also have 4 bathrooms, but one of them has a shower, and it's a stand-up shower, and it how do I put it? Ugh. It's got one of these little like walls. They're not like a ramp or anything, just like one of those like standard. It's a standard shower that you would typically see at home, basically. And we're hoping to get rid of that and put like some sort of special, like just flatten it out, so to speak, and just basically make pretty much better access for those certain individuals to be able to take a shower and clean up and, you know, because we are very strict about hygiene these days. Don't want anybody offended. Yeah, so it basically helps them spruce up their little, gets rid of all that body odor that nobody likes. So we're hoping that we can figure out how to take care of that, so that way we can just get along with it. So, with that said, I thank you very much for listening, and I hope that we can come to some sort of arrangement.
Thank you.
Thank
No,
you, Josh.
can I ask questions? Okay. Next person is Justin Hool. You can't ask questions. Please state your name and address, please.
I'm Justin Hoof from 61 Pike Street, Natchez, New Hampshire. We have some issues with the, what else should I say?
Just the facility.
Just the facility.
Yeah. What would you tell what you would like to see changed?
What do you think?
The bathroom
The bathroom. What else?
and the
What?
back door.
In the back door. And
Any help they could give us would be appreciated.
any help that you would give us would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, Ed Watts?
Yeah,
Oh, Ed.
that was me right next to you. Yeah. My name's Ed Watts. I live at 98 Goldberg Woods. I've worked for Opportunity Network since 2006. Currently, I'm a part-time manager there, but from 2006 to 2017, for 11 years, I was the program manager at the Nashua facility. And what I wanted to speak to tonight is the difficulties in working for a nonprofit where funding is limited in maintaining the building and making improvements on the building. So just to sort of add a little bit to what Josh and Justin said, the back door through which most of the clients come in doesn't have what you typically have now, which is like, it would be a press button so that the door swings open automatically. And particularly in bad weather, that's not safe. It also doesn't have a window, and cars pull up right there, so it's not necessarily the safest situation. So this is something we've been aware of for a long time, so improving that would be very, very important to all of us to make it a safer situation for all of us. And in particular, we have many clients who are in wheelchairs, who use walkers, who use canes. We have a wide variety of folks with a variety of disabilities. But we have folks with vision disabilities, so entering and exiting is a problem for them. We have our own deaf community within our program. So obviously, the hearing issue for them when they're entering or exiting the building. Those are the people that you can imagine that these types of changes would help the most. So over the 11 years I was program manager there, we did what we could. A lot of the staff volunteered their own times, sometimes after hours, sometimes on weekends, to maintain and to fix the building. We were fortunate to have volunteers through United Way on Day of Caring that would come in and paint and do some repair. But that's a lot of what we depend on because we don't have the money to make any kind of a major repair. So that's has a lot to do with why we're here tonight. And I just wanted to mention one other thing about Opportunity Networks. I don't think we're highly visible in this community. There are similar organizations that are similar to us who have a much higher profile just because people drive by them all the time. There are some just a couple blocks away from here. People are generally aware of them. Opportunity Networks has been around since the 80s, and we've been at the Perimeter Road location since that time. And I don't know how many people make their way down Perimeter Road. I live 2 miles from that office in Ward 1, and I never made it to the end of Perimeter Road, which is where the facility is at, until I had lived maybe 15 or 20 years. I mean, I think people go down Perimeter Road partway to the airport, or there are other businesses, but we're way at the end, and I don't think people have been as aware of us. And we've been serving Nashua for many years. Many of our clients are Nashua residents. Many of our clients have jobs in various businesses in Nashua, so we very much have a Nashua connection. And I just wanted to raise the visibility of Opportunity Networks in Nashua by being here tonight. I've lived in Nashua since 1976. I've been a homeowner and property taxpayer since 1978. So I feel invested in the community and connected to the community, and really want the community to appreciate what Opportunity Networks does for many of its disabled citizens. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I have a Skip Whitmore.
Good evening. Do I need to speak into this microphone?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Hi, my name is actually Robert Whitmore, but I go by Skip. My son Michael is a 47-year-old man with Down syndrome.
Excuse me, would you please give us your address?
Oh, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. No, you're
40
fine.
42 Langholm Drive.
Thank you.
Homeowner since 1977. As I said, my son Mike is a 47-year-old man with Down syndrome, and we lived in Nashua since 1969, except for 3 years when I was drafted in the service. And I was a science teacher in the New Hampshire public educational system for 31 years, with my last 15 being at Pennachuck Junior High School, as it was called back then, before the change. Mike was part of the Nashua school system from 1975 until he graduated. He was one of the first Down syndrome individuals to enter the public school system at that time. Mike has been with Opportunity Network since 1996, when it was then known as Sauhegan Valley Resources, having only one facility at Caldwell Road in Amherst. At that time, it was primarily a sheltered workshop whose work items were brought in from outside companies and corporations and completed by the clients there. After the second facility was established on Perimeter Road, Mike was reassigned there as his home base location. As I've been closely involved with Mike throughout all of his life, and especially the last 23 years with Opportunity Networks, I've been to both locations many times. I think I have an up-close and personal knowledge of both places, what they have for facilities, what they've done, and what they can provide. With the addition of the second location at Perimeter Road, this allowed them to provide services for many more clients, many of whom were not able to do the same type of activities as Mike. As a result, the physical facilities became more important to these folks to be able to do the same type of activities. The physical facilities became more important to these folks who were spending more time at them. Some had more serious physical limitations and required more from their physical surroundings than others. It was true then, and it's still true now. The Caldwell Road building was renovated a few years ago, and it became much more handicapped friendly in terms of the number of clients it could serve, as well as the in-house services it could provide. This was especially true for the more physically challenged clients, meaning those with mobility and personal hygiene issues. Entranceways, doorways, hallways, and especially lavatory facilities were upgraded to meet their needs. It's a fantastic upgrade from what used to be there when Mike first joined Opportunity Networks, which brings me to the Perimeter Road facility. As the number of clients have increased over the years, and with a waiting list for future ones, the physical building here has become extremely important in the daily lives of many people. And it needs to as much help as can be provided from whatever the source might be. Through my and Mike's experiences with the school system, national school system, and the city, I have seen the concern and attention given to its special needs citizens here, and have been very impressed. It's one of the main reasons we continue to live here. Even though the best city in which to live award, which Nashua has won a few times and for which it usually seems to be in contention, I'm not sure those folks may take into consideration how a city addresses the needs of that segment of its population, but those of us who live here do. As the numbers from that segment are more likely to increase than decrease, organizations such as Opportunity Networks, which has been part of the Nashua landscape for many years, as Ed mentioned, and will need more and more assistance from local civic organizations to continue their ability to provide for this particular demographic group. An investment in them is an investment in the city in terms of Nashua showing its care and concern for the well-being of its most needy citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Kim Schott.
Hi, I'm Kim Schatz from New Boston, New Hampshire, representing the Plus Company, which is located over here at 19 Chestnut Street. And we applied for CDBG funds to replace the HVAC units that are up on top of our roof. Plus Company purchased the building over on Chestnut Street 6 years ago. We've been in the city for over 45 years and serve over 400 individuals, most of whom are from, or the majority of whom are from the Nashua area. We're pretty much a community-based organization, but a lot of people start and end their day, and some of our elderly folks who are more medically frail will spend the bulk of their day at 19 Chestnut Street. We also have Gateways Community Services as a tenant in that building. So we have a large number of city residents that are coming through the building on a daily basis. The HVAC is, it's the original units in the building, and they're 25 years old, and the shelf life is 15. So we're sort of like hanging on there, hoping to make it through another winter, which we're finishing up, and then hopefully the air conditioners will work. So we appreciate the opportunity to put a grant before CDBG and hope that you'll find in our favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone who didn't sign up in favor of R-19-126?
Fred Tebow, 24 Cheyenne Drive. I don't normally come before this committee. In fact, I think this is the second time I've ever appeared before this committee. I got involved in this committee, actually the CDBG grant, because of Lynn Berry, who contacted me. You all know the story. I've come here, last month, and explained that to her, to this committee, and I had Ms. Lynn Berry here, who had a leaking pipe. She's an individual, not an organization, and she looked for some help. But to make this long story short, by the time she was done, a $300 repair cost $1,100 and wound up with an $1,100 mortgage on a mobile home. And that is not right. She contacted me, and I got involved. As much as contacting HUD regional office in Boston and extended communication with the Urban Program Department, Carrie Sheena, I think is her name, as well as a meeting with Mayor Donches about what do people do if they're in need some cash, and some repair to their homes. And the answer was, there is none. You can get a loan, but you can't get cash. We then came to an agreement that maybe we should make a change to the Housing Improvement Program part of the CDBG grant. And even though Carrie Sheena told me this committee does not get into the weeds, quote unquote, back in February, she gave you a detailed program plan. I don't know if you have it on your desk. You probably don't. But the detailed program plan gave every application made that was adopted and recommended by the UDP Urban Programs Department. And if you look at that description of the home improvement program, it had a third sentence that read, and before I meet, what I'd like to do before I go on is I made a copy of my address, my notes. I'd like to hand this out.
Yes.
And make sure it's part of the record.
Yep.
Okay?
Do you have an extra
Does
one?
somebody take this?
Yes.
Okay, there's enough copies here. Well, everybody here, plus a copy for the record.
Thank you.
I need two.
So let me, since you have this in front of you now,
Oh, okay.
Go
and
ahead,
since
Mr.
this
Tebow.
is a public hearing, one of several that HUD demands, let me take my time to go over this. If you look at that particular program description on the housing improvement program that was handed to you back in February, in the first paragraph under activity description, and I take it you have the memory of it, perhaps you have a copy of it. Do you? Do you have a copy of that?
I have it here.
You,
Do you have a copy?
It's in our book.
Well, then
yeah.
you can follow me in the activity description. They've added the last sentence. The last sentence now reads, minor emergency repairs of $1,000 to $5,000 may be awarded as a grant for owners earning less than 30% of the average area medium income, AMI. That's something new. But I have a problem with that. What I recommend is that you vote to make a change in that last sentence, to read, minor emergency repairs of $500 to $5,000 may be awarded as a grant for owners earning less than 50% of the average medium income, area medium income. And the reasons are, and I state those as well right below. This is the only cash grant to a homeowner that does not require a loan on the property. Second of all, to bring the lower level down, I don't have a problem with the upper limit, because after 5,000, you can get a loan according to the remainder of this program. But repairs can be well below 1,000. And we're talking about emergency repairs. I think Alderman Lopez brought up last time you met, a boiler, but it can be less than that. It could be as simple as Evelyn Berry, who's 86 years old, with a water pipe leak, and she was in pretty serious problems. So $500 is more appropriate as to what the lower range could be. It avoids having all repairs come in at $1,000 or higher, because if bidders, and I've seen that happen now, see that the lowest level is, lowest amount is 1,000, they'll bid 1,000 and up. And in fact, that's how Ms. Berry wound up with an $1,100 mortgage, because the bidders bid high. So by making a $500 lower amount, you will not necessarily get all bids coming in at 1,000. Because the other question is, if it's below 1,000, what's the homeowner do? They still have no coverage. And I think the income range, by making 30% to 50%, will qualify more applicants that need emergency repairs. They're still only at 50% of the national area income level. Now, if you decide not to do that, not to vote the first part, I have an alternative. The alternative is to place on the bottom as a last sentence in that same paragraph, these costs and income qualification limits may be extended upon review of the need by the National Urban Programs Department. So it gives them the leeway to make some adjustments. I intend to send this information to the regional office in HUD as well. So they're well aware. I've had a lot of correspondence with HUD. People well above the level of the department here in Nashua. And I think to sympathize with this request. Okay. And also, by the way, you have in your minutes of March 11th, Gary Sheena addressed this point and said, yeah, we do make adjustments. But I'd like to see these adjustments put in writing as part of this program plan. That's the first comment I wanted to make. This being a public hearing, I thought, I've never done this before, I thought I'd take a look at the requests on CDBG. I used to be involved in CDBG money way back 20 years ago. CDBG money used to be used for things like building the garages. You CDBG money to build the garages. You CDBG money to build the sidewalks on Main Street. None of that happens anymore. All of it goes to charities. So I got interested to see how these funds really got distributed. I made up a spreadsheet. It takes me a little while to make up the spreadsheet. I like to distribute those. I have copies. I like to make those of the record. And I will also forward these to the HUD regional office. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're obviously not going to go over every entry here because I'll be here for an hour. I'll go over a few.
Thank you.
First of all, in the part of the page where it says UDP, CDBG administration, and UDP project delivery. I'm going to ask a question. This being a public hearing, I'm allowed to be asked a question. And you can see about all the amounts on this paper, by far, the largest amount goes to administration. If you add up the two columns, $137,600 for the administration and another $115,000 for delivery, you wind up with 34%. Fully 1/3 of the CDBG grant goes to administration. Even the mafia doesn't get that kind of a cut. That's insane. No one in this committee ever asked, from what I can tell, how do you come up with these outrageous costs? Now, the CDBG program has a limit because there tends to be this creep, bureaucratic creep into these programs. And the limit is 20%. Now, if you look at the line that says UDP CDBG administration, that $137,600 represents 17% of the grant. The limit should be 20. So why is there a separate line item called UDP project delivery representing 14% of the grant for $115,000? Now, I'd hoped that Carrie Sheena would be here to answer that question. The committee members here should have asked that question. And I'm going to ask HUD in Boston that question. When the limit of administration is 20%, why is Nashville charging 34%? And if you look at the difference, reviews of specs, construction management, administration, it is all administration. You can't convince me you spent $137,000 just writing reports. That's the problem. It has to be adjusted and assessed before you go forward with this grant. You have to call Gary Sheena back in and demand why is the city of Nashville going beyond 20% of the administration for this grant. That's my first point. My second point is a mistake was made in the addition of the grants. And you got a letter in the mail from Carrie Sheena, I think, no, from Mayor, signed by Mayor Donches, in fact, that there was a $47,000 error. So if you add all this stuff up, the total amount of grant is not $765,000 some amount that you've all been talked about. The amount is actually adds up to $802,000. You need to confirm that. Is that $47,000 really added to the full amount? I believe it is. If it is, the grant is $47,000 more. I put this on a contingency because you haven't allocated that $47,000. Which brings me to the point, where should you allocate the $47,000? And my answer is, my recommendation is put it into the home program, housing improvement program. Because housing improvement program helps individuals, not organizations. Helps individuals. And Carrie Sheena in a testimony back in March said, on page 11 of your minutes of March 11, she says, the program used to be $175,000, page 11. It came down. She doesn't know why it came down. The program used to be $175,000, it's now $75,000. And it helps a lot of people making emergency repairs to their homes. Why is that? So at least you still take the $47,000 and add it to the $75,000 currently allocated, which is the same $75,000 allocated last year, and the year before that, and the year before that. It used to be $175,000. Okay, another point I want to make is who gets this money in the 12 or 13 applications that were approved. First of all, there's a nice chunk of money of $250,000. And to your credit, you turn it down. To whom? To the city of Nashville to develop Court Street. Court Street is a public building. The grant does not allow you to spend money on public buildings. It's specifically prohibited under the guidelines. How did that sneak in here? Now, you turned it down, but it still came in. You should ask Sheena, how did that come into the approved programs? Well, recommended programs by the Urban Programs Department. Another thing snuck in here. You turn that down, too. An individual landlord of a building he didn't even own, who rents his building to a family of 5, 4 adults and a child, low income, wanted his name is Dan Stevens, that's how it came in, wanted $27,000 to fix his property. Just because they're low-income people, that's not the only qualifier. You have to have a series of qualifications, all of which are stipulated by HUD. Now you turn him down too. If you look at his sheet, he didn't even fill out the application properly. He had no budget, no salary, no compensation. He just says, I need $27,660. You ought to at least look at the application to see if they're properly completed before you turn them down. And turn these applications down, the application asks for the director's salary. The only organization that provided you with a director's salary is the Entrepreneurship for All. And the reason is, you can see clearly why. They're very high numbers. Entrepreneurship for All pays their executive director a compensation package of $185,000. And I'm saying that for the record. And then they have a program manager, and they pay the program manager $145,000. And how many people did they help? They help 100 people total, 40 below 30%, 30% of the average medium income, 40 total 31 to 50, and 20 that make 80% of the average medium income. For 100 kids, one of them gets a $185,000 salary, and the other one gets a $145,000 salary. That ought to be automatic reason not to award them a grant. If they want $40,000, let them take it out of their salary. I formed a 501c3 personally. I built a memorial. I raised personally $200,000. The memorial is worth at this point probably a book value of $500,000. You know how much I paid myself? Zip. Nothing. How can anybody take $185,000 and another guy pay $145,000? And that's the reason none of them filled that column out. If you look at the application, none of them filled out what officers made, even though the application asked for it. and none of you asked for that information. Now, you can even ask, how can you have a budget of $4 million? You help 100 people. $4 million to help 100 people? Now, you look at the Boys and Girls Club, it's a little different. They got a $3.3 million budget, but they help 888 kids with income below 30% of the average median income. And 428 kids between 31 and 50% of the average median income, and 219 kids with family incomes at 80% or below. So even though the budget is high, the salaries, well, the salaries are $2 million out of a $3.3 million budget. Not trivial, I don't know what the directors make, but at least they help a lot of kids. Now you get to the National Children's Home. They're here year after year after. They've been coming here for 20 years. They help 12 kids. Now, 12 needy kids, that's fine. I can understand that. They have a nice home, 12 kids. They have a $4 million salaries. There's something that's wrong in an application. How can you have $4 million worth of salaries when you help 12 kids? And a $5.1 million budget. And they want $45,600. And you gave them $25,000, which you recommend. There's something wrong with that application. Can you explain the difference between the number and helping 12 kids, Madam Alderman Karen?
Well, we're not here to answer your questions, but
Yes, you are. This is a public hearing. You are here to answer the questions.
but I will say this, there's more than one facility for the National Children's Home.
There is? How many?
Yeah, there's at least 3.
All right.
Well, could be.
Is that 3?
There could be at least 3.
It's not in the application.
No,
Do you review these applications?
we don't.
And if there's 3, how many kids are being helped in the 3 agencies? Is it 36 kids?
No, one facility is for older youths. One's the Children's Home that's up on Amherst Street that takes care of different age groups.
Good. How
And
many
then-
total?
I don't know, that varies.
How many total this year that they are making the application for? Is it
I don't know.
2020?
Mr. T-Bone, I'm not going to argue with you, but I do know that there's more than one facility.
I'm
So
not
it's
asking
not
you a
just
question.
12 people
How
within the
many
Children's Home
people-
organization.
Total, the 3 facilities being helped with a budget of $5.1 million budget and a $4 million worth of salaries. How many kids? How many adults? How many people total? Do you know?
No, I don't have that.
You don't know.
That's not,
You should know when you make these awards. You should get into the details, into the specifics. Why else are you meeting here? This is a public hearing. We have a right to know. I'm going to ask the regional public. I have asked before the regional Boston office of HUD to make an audit of the Urban Programs Department in Nashua, because I don't think they adequately review these applications. In fact, I don't think they adequately oversee their programs. And I can tell you I could spend an hour talking about the Lynn Berry situation. That's the National Children's Home.
Mr. Tebow, if I may, you're looking at the CDBG page 1 of the Children's Home, and at the bottom, which is where I know you got the number 12, number of clients at or below 30%
Yes?
of median income, and it says 12.
Yes.
But in the information that's asked for there, it says, please provide estimated number of unduplicated Nashua beneficiaries. So it's only Nashua beneficiaries that will benefit from this CDBG-funded activity, not necessarily your entire client population. And I do know from the time I served on the Juvenile Parole Board, we have residents, young people who live at the Nashua Children's Home who are not residents of Nashua. And the facility that they're applying for, who will benefit from this activity, are the 12 youth that live in this house where these windows are being replaced. I also know that they have, across a year, they have rolling residents. So someone may age out of their program and need to be taken to another program. Someone, I've had students who have been on parole, juvenile parole, and they're living at the Nashua Children's Home. And then once they age out of that system, they may move into another supervised young adult facility. So their numbers also move across the year. So they may have a capacity for 60 people, but across a year, they may serve 260 people because of the way their youth come and go from that facility. But again, they don't serve only children from Nashua. They serve children from other areas. And this application is talking about this specific activity, replacing the windows in that one location, and how many Nashuans will benefit from that, and it's 12. So they may have 2 or 3 other people living in that house who actually their families aren't from Nashua, but they may also be residents of that house. And I can't remember, I'll be very honest with you, I can't remember how many total young people live in that house in that supervised housing situation. But what they're reporting here is that there are only 12 from Nashua who live there.
Right, but I understand that. But the application requires a statement of agency budget and agency salaries. That's why the agency budget is $5.1 million, and the agency salaries are $4 million. So you ought to at least know how many they serve, so we have a feel for that. And I'll give you a good example of someone that filled the application in properly. Except for director's salary, it's Pell, Nashua Pell. They help, and it's a nice comparison to make. I was involved with Pell years ago. My grandson actually takes boxing lessons. 358 kids under 30% or lower for AMI. 21, 50% to 30%, and 1 above 51. So they help 560 people. Their budget is $600,000. Their salaries is $200,000 total. Those are reasonable numbers, and they help a lot of kids. Just like the Boys and Girls Clubs helps a lot of kids. So if the children's home helps more kids than 12, then you ought to explain this all in the application, because the application asks for that, so you can make an assessment. Is it a reasonable application? It's the least you can do. Not just sit there and say, oh, they've got 20,000, maybe you ought to get 25,000. No, you ought to examine what you're doing. That's your job. Anyway, I have nothing to say about the home program, except it's interesting to note on the home program that it's a $400,000 worth of funding. And guess what their management is? 10%, $39,800. Not like under the CDBG program, 137, 150, $250,000. This whole thing, this whole CDB process is full of holes. You don't do an adequate job reviewing it. UDP does not adequate job vetting these applications. And I don't quite know how Court Street got in here. How does the city building get on the list of 250,000? How does an individual who owns a home with a family, he doesn't even own a home, how does he get on the list? These are the problems I have. I am not here for a penny. My organization, I didn't take a penny. But these are serious questions. That's why I came here. That's why I took the trouble. most of the day yesterday putting the spreadsheet together. It takes a while to put a spreadsheet together. But here it is, right in front of you, black and white, in color. Examine it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll hear testimony in opposition. Again, testimony in favor. Testimony in opposition. Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed at 7:45 p.m. We will now open the Human Affairs Committee meeting of April 8th, 2019 at 7:45 p.m. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman June Karen.
Here.
Alderman Patricia Clee.
Here.
Alderwoman Marianne Malizi Goja.
Present.
And Alderman Linda Harry Gathright, President. Present.
Okay. All right.
Excuse me,
Certainly.
Madam Chairman, just for the record, Alderman Wilshire is unavailable this evening for the meeting, just so it gets captured in the record.
Yes. And Carrie Skeena is unable to attend as well because of illness. Okay. Anyone have any public comment for the regular board meeting? Seeing none. Communication.
It was 19. Sorry.
Nope, that's all right.
Communications. From Carrie Skeena, UPD Manager. R-19-126. FY 2020 HUD Annual Action Plan. There being no objection, Vice Chairman Karen accepted the communication and placed it on file.
Any comments? Okay. Unfinished business?
None.
New business resolutions.
R-19-118. Relative to the acceptance and appropriation of up to $218,486 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services into transit grant activity, Federal Transit Authority, FTA, operating grant. Motion.
Okay. Motion by
I'll move to recommend final passage.
Alderman Melissa Gola. Is there any comments concerning this resolution? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Resolution passed. Okay, next one.
R-19-121. Relative to the acceptance and appropriations of $43,113 from the United States Department of Justice into police grant activity, 2018 Justice Assistant Grant, multi-jurisdictional.
Alderman Melissa Gola?
Yes, I would move to recommend final passage of R-19-121.
Okay, you heard the motion. Is there any comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, R-19-121 is approved.
R-19-126, authorizing the mayor to apply for and expend the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Investment Partnership Program funds for fiscal year 2020.
Okay, you heard the motion. Have some comments?
Oh, we have to have a motion
Motion.
for, I'll move to recommend final passage.
Alderman Melissa Gola has recommended passage of R-19-126. Any comments, concerns? Go ahead, Alderman
Yes.
Melissa Gola.
I believe we all received the information from Ms. Skeena regarding some possible changes to the home funds. I didn't know if people wanted to discuss those. The funds were very similar to what the changes very similar to what Mr. T-Boom had recommended, changing the requirement to 50% AMI for the owners, and I think that was her major change, actually, as I'm looking at this.
Is that what Carrie had recommended? I thought it was 30%. She did recommend the 50%.
Yeah, her communication, which should be part of the record, I'm comfortable with pushing it to 50%, because they should be restricted to the most vulnerable owners. She wouldn't want to push it to anything higher. And then her other comment was about lowering the dollar amount, because it's currently at 1,000, and I believe Mr. T-Boom had talked to us this evening about lowering it to 500. So, and it's in the changes, it's highlighted, bolded in the communication he submitted to us. And Ms. Gaina's comment was that just that going below 1,000 starts getting into that area of where, is it an emergency sort of repair, or is it lack of maintenance? And that there's HUD guidance around looking at the difference between maintenance, lack of maintenance, and an emergency repair. So I don't know what other people's feelings are.
Alderwoman
I have to apologize. I did not see that.
Oh, okay.
When did she send that?
I did see it. I think it was forwarded to us by the
Sue?
yeah.
Are you reading the one that's dated April 4th?
No, April 8th.
So I didn't get that one.
Oh, okay, you were on it.
Well, for some reason, I am not getting some of my emails.
Would you like me to go make a copy?
Would you please, so that we can look at them?
Why don't we just maybe recess for 5 minutes?
Yep.
Sure.
We can take a 5-minute recess while we get some printing done.
Because today is April 8th and I don't have anything.
Do you want me to give her this one, or do you want to keep that one?
You can keep them both. No, you can give her both in case she, did you write
Because I
anything
do the
down?
same thing. I
Oh,
have
okay,
my own
yep.
that I get.
Good, good. I'm happy.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Oh,
I did see it. Let me see.
I didn't either.
She sends it to my other address.
Yeah, I didn't get any of that.
Well, she sent it to another email, but I don't remember seeing it. No.
Yes, you just look up natural gas, and this is the Human Affairs. So it'll be there, I think it'll be tomorrow.
Okay, Human Affairs will come back. Thank you, Alderman Melissa Gola, for getting that information,
You're welcome.
because nobody seemed to have gotten it.
I have highlighted the areas that I was referencing. So with that, I will make a motion that we, I'm sorry, I have so many papers here, that we make the change that the grants be awarded for owners earning less than 50% of AMI. So that is my first motion, to amend that language and change it from 30 to 50% of AMI.
Okay. So you heard the motion by Alderman Melissa Gola. Do we have any other comments?
I have one.
Alderman Clee.
Do we know what the current AMI is right at the moment, or?
The amount, no, you know what, I haven't seen that chart this year.
We haven't seen that
Yeah, I
yet.
was gonna say, I didn't see, I was just curious as to what 50% of it would be.
I don't know, it's 30 right now is what
The
we're looking at,
30%
yeah.
of it, yeah, I know, but I was wondering what AMI, what the actual dollar
I have
amount
no
was.
idea.
Okay.
And usually that's given to us if it's
Yeah.
available, so,
I went looking, I haven't seen it
yeah,
in any
it
of
may
the,
be that it's not available
it hasn't been
yet.
set yet.
Yeah,
But the government shut down and everything, there was a lot of
Right.
stuff that hasn't been set yet.
Any other comments? I think the other thing that we have to remember that Urban Programs, Carrie's group reviews all these applications, and I'm sure that they will be very thoughtful in how they handle that and make sure that those people who are vulnerable and need that emergency service is provided with that. We do know that some of that money gets returned when people pay back the money that they were given allocated for their repairs or services. So I have no problem with making that change.
okay, so, again, my
right,
motion
so-
is to change it from 30 to 50% of AMI.
Right. Okay, so you heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that change has been made. Make sure that that's included in the list. Anything else? Now, one of the things.
Yes,
Oh,
Alderman Karen, yes.
Sure.
The other part that's discussed in this communication is looking at the lower limit, which if you look at the information in our grant requests book, on the form, the repairs range from 1,000 to 500. And there is published HUD guidance around what qualifies and what doesn't for this money as a repair. And I think we should at least have a discussion, so I will make the motion just for discussion that we eliminate the lower limit of 1,000, so it would just read up to $5,000, and with the understanding that the department would then use the published HUD guidance. So that's my motion, that we eliminate the lower limit of 1,000 and that it just read up to $5,000 may be awarded.
Okay. So does everyone understand the motion that? Okay. Any other discussion about that? No? Okay.
Actually, I just have one quick question,
Alderman Clee.
but Carrie is not here to answer that, the question, but a comment was made earlier that by having the $1,000, people are going to push the contract up to $1,000. I don't believe that to be true. I think that one of the issues that makes things a little higher is that there's a certain criteria, and HUD specifies who and what their background has to be, so it can't be just Joe the handyman
Right.
that does this kind of work. So I just want to put that on the record that that is what it is, and I know Ms. Skeena is not here to answer that question, but I believe that to be so from working from other
We can
organizations.
certainly question her on that
Okay.
in May.
Because I do believe that
Yeah.
there are HUD requirements as to who can be doing the work and so on
Yes,
to be hired.
right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And they do have to follow that. Otherwise,
Guidelines,
they could
yes.
be penalized.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so hearing that motion for the change to remove the lower end threshold and just go to $5,000, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Anything else? Now, we do, in this note, because we have not received the amount of money, we can hold off finalizing this until our May meeting, and hopefully Carrie will be here so that we can finalize and put everything together. But if there's any other changes or concerns, she did find $49,000 that we could certainly reprogram some and/or put it in contingency or somewhere else. Any? Alderwoman Melissa Gola.
Yes, I would make a motion to take $10,000 and add it to the 40 we already have for Opportunity Networks. So that would bring them up to 50.
So the motion is to add $10,000 to Opportunity Networks to bring the total allocation from $40,000 to $50,000. Any thoughts, concerns? Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Okay, I guess here I'm just struggling a little bit with them because I don't see anything where it says the client served. And I would think that they would have answered that one.
Do you have that?
Even though I do believe that accessibility is truly important, that I do believe.
Mhm.
Just thought I'd throw it out there.
Next, excuse me, if I may.
Alderman Lisa Gola.
Next year, these books need page numbers.
Yes, they do.
I was just going to say what page, but or they need dividers. I would, 10% of the clients are wheelchair bound, 40% have additional mobility issues. So we have been given that number. Oh, perfect.
Please
Thank
come
you.
to the mic. All right,
And just
please come to the mic and give your name and just give us those figures that has been asked. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Willett, and I'm actually from Opportunity Networks. So you're looking for clients served. This particular office serves about 60 people. 49 of those individuals are actual Nashua residents, if that's the number that you're looking for.
Okay.
So about 60 clients come or go from that office every day. 49 of them live in Nashua. Is that the number you were looking for?
Yes.
Yes, thank
And
you.
I think some of that was included in the cover sheet. I don't know if you were given the cover sheet. I'm happy to provide it to you if you'd like
Oh,
to make copies of
Yeah,
it.
it's probably in the book that we have.
Okay. Did you have any other questions while I'm here?
Not at the moment, thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Can you spell your last name?
Oh, yeah, sure, of course. OUELLETTE.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. Do you see anything else?
You said I couldn't ask a question. I just wanted to know for them when they trying to get were they trying to build a shower that they can like take
We
the
need to have all
wheelchair in there?
conversations on the record. We need to.
Sorry.
Okay. All right, so the motion by Alderwoman Melissa Gola is to increase Opportunity Network's request from $40,000 to $50,000. Is there any other questions concerning the motion? Alderwoman Harriet Gathright?
No.
No? Okay. All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, so that increases that to $50,000. Anything else? Nothing? Alderwoman Melissa Gola?
Motions and
Yes,
people
please.
can do
that's-
whatever.
Yep, that's the way
I-
to do it.
I will do it combined. To take 10,000 to the children's home for windows, 10,000 to Plus Company, and I believe that leaves us with 19.
Mhm.
And that we put that in the home program now, and then we can decide when we come back and talk further with Ms. Skana if there's something else we should be doing.
Okay. Okay, so the motion is to add $10,000 to the children's home allocation of $25,000, which would bring it to $35,000. To add to the Plus Company $10,000 to their allocation of $29,070.84 to bring them to $39,070.84, and to add $19,000 into the HIP program, which has an allocation of $75,000. Which will bring that to $94,000. Do we have any questions? Any? Okay. And as you know, this is always subject to change if we find out we have money somewhere else.
So can I?
Yes, Alderwoman.
Thank you for taking the question. You said it was 19,000, and where was that going?
19 was going to number 12, Housing Improvement Program. It's called HIP.
Yep.
Yeah. It has an allocation of 75,000.
Right, and they were awarded 75.
And God bless you. Yes, and we're going to add 19,000 to it.
This is the program we make grants out of.
Right.
So it's giving us extra money to provide to citizens who might come to the city with a request.
Okay.
That's a revolving loan.
Yeah.
That's like a revolving loan.
Okay.
So any money that is loaned out gets returned and utilized again. That's why that changes constantly. Alderman Clee. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. It's okay. Okay. I would like to see another $5,000. I think the Boys and Girls Club's request was $40,000, and we allotted $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to give them another $5,000?
Well, that's what the conversation is about. So where would you take that $5,000 from?
That 19,000.
Okay. Alderman Clee.
I agree with adding everything you've said, and I agree with adding to the HIP program, although I think it's one of those funds, as you said, a revolving fund that they pay back and then we have and use it. I think there'll probably be more requests now that we've lowered it to not have a lower limit. So I do think that there'll be more requests that will be coming in for that. So I do agree with that. I don't have a problem with taking 5 out and putting it in with the Boys and Girls Club because of the amount of people that they do serve. But with you, the two of you have more expertise as to knowing what the HIP program uses on a regular basis. So I would like to hear what your thoughts are. If you think that there'll be more, if the 75 plus that 19 or 75 plus 14.
Do you want to?
If you'd like to. Alderman Melissa Gola.
I guess, this fund has gone down across, as Ms. Skana said, across 11 years. It's gone down. And some years there's demand for it, and some years there isn't as much. And sometimes it gets paid back more quickly than at other times. So I'm looking at that knowing that we're going to have one more meeting, and Ms. Skana will be here to answer questions about it. So that gives us an opportunity to get her input. And I'm also looking at whether or not she might say, well, leave some of it there, but put some of it into the rehab pilot program too, which is listed right below that. That may be another place that we may want to put some funds. So I have just been, I put that out there simply for discussion and something to think about. I will say we did have pretty extensive conversation the last time about the Boys and Girls Club and the parking lot drainage, and the fact that they actually kind of said to us, if you give it to us, fine. If not, we understand. And comments were made at the last meeting about what their resources are, and I think you remember those. So I'm not sure I'm as inclined to give them additional funds just because for that reason, and looking at what some of the other needs are around, real maintenance of buildings and livability and usability of conditions. But my motion on the floor right now is the 10, 10, and 19. If someone wants to amend it, or we can vote it down and start over again, I'm fine with any of that.
No, I do appreciate all that you've done, and I like the 19 going into that. May I ask what the contingency fund would be used for? Is that for something that comes up in an emergency?
Yes.
So something that we hadn't funded, but all of a sudden we have this emergency and we need to.
Always have a little extra on this.
Or sometimes a project like, it's just like when you get into your own projects at home, you didn't know once you opened up a wall, there was something really major there. And so that money's available.
I would consider bumping up the contingency, but I'm happy to keep things the way that you've suggested. And then when we have Ms. Kina here, we can to speak to her more in depth about it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So the motion on the floor is to add $14,000 to the housing improvement.
So you're amending my motion?
No, 19. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm reading the wrong number here. 19,000. 10,000 to the Plus Company, and 10,000 to the children's home. Am I right?
That's the current motion on
Okay.
the floor, correct?
Is there any further discussion on that?
I guess so, because
Alderman Harry
All right.
Gathright, go ahead.
when I asked about the 5,000, so is that just because Trish said, I'm sorry, Alderman Clegg said that she was happy with what Alderman Malizi Gold just said, so that just nixes the 5,000. Is that the essence of it? I'm talking about process right now, what we're doing, because you went back to her motion when I thought I had something here.
Well,
I'm not sure.
you were asking to change,
Yeah.
but the original
Right.
person of the motion
Said
is,
no.
no.
If you would like to make a motion
But if-
to amend my motion.
If you want to amend
You can
it,
do
we can
that,
do
or we
that.
can vote mine down
Right.
and start over
Right.
again.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, well then I'd like to make a motion to amend your motion.
Okay.
Okay, Alderman,
I
Alderman,
apologize.
no, that's all right, Harriet Gathright, because you just asked, so that's why the conversation went.
Okay.
Okay, so you'd like to amend the motion to take 5,000 from housing improvement and add it to the Boys and Girls Club to bring them to 25,000.
Yes.
Okay. So the amendment is to give the Boys and Girls Club $5,000, Nashua Children's Home $10,000, Plus Company $10,000, and Housing Improvement Program $14,000. You've heard the motion. Any comments? Okay, so we are talking about making these changes, and I see no problem with that because I think that it will give us time to think about it and get some answers when Carrie comes back on May 15th, when we have our May meeting, to make adjustments as needed. Alderman Clee.
Just kind of for the record, I probably won't be here for the May 15th. I'll be having my surgery on May 10th.
Okay.
Just to
confuse us even more.
I could call in but that doesn't build your quorum. So, but I'm happy to call in for that one.
All right. It's the 13th and you won't be here. Okay. Okay. Any further discussion on the amended motion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that passes.
Okay, so now we have to pass it as amended, right?
Pass this as amended.
Yeah, she amended my motion. Now we have to
Yes.
pass it as amended.
Now we need to, right.
So I will make a motion to recommend that we increase the budgets as outlined, 10 for Children's Home, 10 for Plus Company, 14 for housing improvement, and 5 for the Boys and Girls Club, to reflect the amendment.
Opportunity Network.
No.
No, that was done before.
That was a separate motion. Yeah. Okay, so you heard the motion. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Opposed? No one. Thank you. Okay, so we have R-19126 on the table. What would you like to do? Would you like to final passage or?
We already did that.
No.
No, it's the final, it's the whole thing.
So this
Or to table.
You need to.
I would like to recommend we table it
Right.
until our next PEDC meeting in May,
You mean Human Affairs?
or Human Affairs, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, so the motion is to table R-19-126 until our May 13th meeting. Any discussion on that? All of us in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, so now we have new business.
None.
Okay, general discussion, anyone? Public comment? Please state your name.
Yeah, Fred Tebow,
Thank you.
24 Cheyenne. On behalf of Lynn Berry and people like her, that for many, many years was a taxpayer, owned a business, and fell on hard times. On behalf of her, I thank you, particularly Alderman Mr. Golder, for making the change. I hope that doesn't get further change. I think the change is a good one, and it'll be helpful, very helpful to all people. I want to also mention that since this came up, in the minutes of 11 March, Mrs. Sheena said the following, and the question came up about funding for the HIP program. She said, I know, and I'm quoting here on page 11, I know when I started 10 years ago, that was funded at $175,000. Just remember that when you make additional changes. And the final point, the way you're adding up all the numbers, I think it came to $49,000 of additional money. You have a message from Sheena. April 4th, and that's reflected properly in the spreadsheet I gave you earlier. The amount of money was $47,409, not $49,000. $47,409. So you need to adjust your figures because I think you took it off. You're off by about $2,000.
Yeah, we will check. Okay, remarks by the alderman? Anyone? Okay, no public comment? No non-public session? Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Alderman Melissa Gola, motion to adjourn. We are adjourned at 8:23 p.m. Thank you all. See you tomorrow.